Hi, I'm Zoe the Psychic, and today we're going to talk about Venus in retrograde and how it was a complete shit show. I can't believe it. I'm wearing rollerblades right now. Look at these. I promise this is relevant. Now you might be wondering, why are you wearing rollerblades, Zoe? What does that have to do with Venus in retrograde? Well, I will tell you right now. I haven't really planned this video out. I just felt like I needed to talk about this. I also felt like a lot of people think that Venus in retrograde is really scary and really bad, and it can be in some ways. And I want to talk about how much control we actually have over Venus in retrograde, what it actually all means. I'm going to take these off first because they're very tight. Venus in retrograde was brutal. Oh my God, it was brutal. So I have another video on Venus in retrograde you can check out if you want to learn more about what it is, but I'll just go over it briefly. So what is Venus in retrograde? Venus in retrograde is an astrological event where basically it looks like the planet Venus is going backwards, okay? So Venus is the planet of love, beauty, and values, and finances. It's the divine feminine. And when it goes into retrograde, it's like those things are just so much harder. Suddenly everything is called into question. Your relationships, your aesthetics, your creative choices, your money, your personal values, everything. Oh my God, everything is so fucked. No, I'm just kidding. It is fine. It's actually a beautiful time where instead of focusing on those outward things, it's about taking that energy inward, right? And really reflecting on these things. So a lot of the time, things will come up that will cause you to reflect, right? They'll prompt you to reflect. So you might find that at that time you'll have more intimacy issues or relationship issues, or maybe your ex calls you back and you're kind of forced to reflect on that and reflect on what that means for you and what that means for your relationships and love. You might find yourself fighting more with your loved ones. You might find yourself feeling like you are having difficulty being creative or needing to be more creative and going inwards and kind of taking the time to go back to the basics. You might find that you struggle to create the look or the appearance that you want. Ah! Sorry about that. I'm trying these bangs for the first time since we're doing Venus in retrograde, which is all about aesthetics. Yeah, so you might find that these things start to become more challenging, or there might be some resistance, and you really have to go more inwards instead of trying to date someone new, instead of trying to get a boob job, instead of trying to, you know, like force new creative things into your life. You kind of go backwards, go inwards, I would say, and you reflect on those things. I hope that makes sense. I know a lot of this is going to be rambling and venting and whatever, but thank you for being here if you're still here. So, of course, if you are someone who has a lot of Venetian energy in your chart, you're going to be more impacted by Venus in retrograde. Like I said, it really depends for each person. It will impact everyone differently, especially depending on where your Venus is in your chart. So for example, if your Venus is in the sign that is currently, you know, where Venus is transitioning, then you are going to feel the effects more. And that's exactly what happened to me. I'm a super Taurus, okay? For those of you who also watch my channel, you'll know that I'm a Tauremini, but today we're gonna really focus on those Venetian properties. So let's just go into, I am a Taurus sun and a Taurus moon, which means I have a lot of Taurus Venetian Venus energy in my chart, okay? So I already know that whenever Venus is in retrograde, I'm gonna feel it. I'm gonna be impacted by it. On top of that, I am a Sagittarius rising, which means that my Jupiter, which is the ruler of Sagittarius, is in Libra, which is basically also a Venus sign. It's a Venetian sign, okay? Libra and Taurus both ruled by Venus, and basically my chart ruler is in Venus. A Venetian sign is in Libra. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Basically, I just have a ton of fucking Venetian energy in my chart, which means that I'm going to feel whatever happens with Venus, okay? So if you have Taurus or Libra and you have a lot of that intensity in your chart, you're gonna feel this, okay? You're gonna feel Venus in retrograde, whether you like it or not, okay? Now, my Venus is in Aries, okay? And Venus just happened to start retrograding in Aries, okay? So that means that I was really feeling it. Now, I don't have a lot of Pisces energy in my chart. I do have my dark moon or black moon in Lilith in Pisces, which is great. Just great. This retrograde really brought up some dark stuff for me, okay? It really, it was a lot. It was a lot. So now that I've explained how I'm basically just a beacon for Venetian bullshit and energy. Actually, Venus is a really like nice planet when you get to know it. So let's not shit on Venus. I think let's just talk about the experience, okay? Now, here's the thing. I always advise people to look inwards, go within and all that when Venus is in retrograde, to not go out and try new relationships or new sexual acts. You know, don't reach out to your ex. Don't get a plastic surgery, you know, because they could go wrong. Don't do all those things that you're not supposed to do. Just don't do it. Don't start any new creative projects. Don't fight with your partner. And did I listen to my own advice? Fuck no, I did not. Do I wish I had? Kind of, maybe, I don't know. Let's talk about Venus and Aries to start. So Venus and Aries can make passion a really big thing. Now keep in mind, my Venus is in Aries in the 5th house, which is the house of pleasure, of fun, of children, of creativity, okay? So my Venus is already very passionate, very sexual, very driven, and Aries in itself is the warrior, very driven, very assertive. You know, I know what makes me feel good. I know what I like. I know what brings me joy, what brings me pleasure. I find myself being very active in areas like the bedroom, in creative spots, you know, creative places. Like I love art. I love creativity. I may not be the best at like being patient because Aries is like they kind of dive head first into things. So sometimes I can be very impulsive when it comes to trying new things. I really love that. I really find myself being a little playful, childish sometimes. You know, that Aries energy is at the beginning of the Zodiac. So it's all about kind of me, exploring the pleasure, exploring it. And wherever Aries is in your chart is going to impact what you do, you know. So during Venus in retrograde, I found myself being very impulsive. I found myself wanting more than anything to make new friends, to make new connections, to try things, to try new hairstyles, to try new like changes in my life, to, you know, a lot of things I wanted to try that I've never wanted to try before. Okay, so that's kind of how, in a nutshell, Venus in retrograde and Aries in the 5th house was for me. Okay, I really wanted to do it all, to try new things. I had this surge of energy. I got on Bumble BFF and I started making all these friends, talking to people. It was so bad, guys, because every time I tried to set up a friend hangout, shit would happen. I met with multiple people. I got canceled on so many times, which I could either blame on Mercury in retrograde or Venus in retrograde or both. I got like so many things kept happening and I was like, is it even worth this Should I even be trying to make new friends at this time? Probably not. Maybe I should wait. I also felt restless. I had that Aries energy. And instead of wanting to go within, I was like, fuck it. I gotta go try everything. I met this one girl on Bumble BFF. And she was like, you know what? I just started rollerblading. And I think you should join me. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. And guys, that is crazy for me because I don't even ride a bike. I don't even drive. Anything on wheels like that I can't control, you know, I hate having my feet off the ground. It's just a thing. I hate like skateboarding. I have nothing against it, but like personally, I can't do it, okay? I had never in a million years, like I told my parents, I told my partner, I told my other friends that I've known forever that I'm rollerblading, and they were like, what? You? Because it is not something I would ever do, okay? I have wrist problems, injuries. I have a lot of like problems with coordination, and they're like, why are you even trying this thing? And it was so impulsive. It was so on a whim. But I was like, you know what? This girl seems cool. She seems like she would, you know, help me out and we would learn together. Little did I know that was going to fall apart. But you know what? I got rollerblading out of it. So now I'm going to keep rollerblading and keep trying it. That friendship grew controlling. Just so you guys know. She was very controlling. She started telling me who I couldn't talk to and who I could. So that didn't really go well. However, I did get something really beautiful out of it. And I promise all this is going to come together, okay? I'm just telling you my experience and how, how fucked I was, okay? So then I also went on another friend date and I got stood up. And then on the third time that I went, I accidentally had a bad reaction to something. I basically showed up and it looked like I was on drugs because I was having basically like a panic attack at the friend date. When I left the house for my fourth friend date, my whole pants just ripped in half. So it was like the universe was like, you're not making friends right now. This isn't going to work out for you. Aesthetic wise, I was so tempted to dye my hair. I held off on that because I was like, you know what? This is the one thing that I'm going to really try to do during Venus in retrograde. It's just not make any real aesthetic changes. So even though I was tempted to splurge on so many things and get my hair done and all that, I didn't. I held back. But I do have, these are veneers and this is an implant. And I needed my final crown, which is definitely an aesthetic procedure as well. And you know what? Didn't go as planned. I got it, but they still have to fix it. So it didn't even go as planned. Now, Venus also has to do with money, and I found myself spending so much money during Venus in retrograde. I was so impulsive. I'm like, how am I even like alive right now? Because I just spent all this money. I bought so many things that I returned afterwards because I was like, why did I buy this? And like I said, my relationship had some struggles, but it was a good moment for us to reflect and discuss things. But at one point, it got really bad, guys. I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to be very honest. And I really had to think about what I wanted. Now, everything's fine now, but it was just really intense. And I remember buying these like really expensive rollerblades for like $400 or something. And I don't really want to spend that kind of money on something that I don't even know if I like. You know, like I don't even know if I like rollerblading, but I did it anyway. Then Venus went into Pisces and I felt so many emotions. Like all of those things that I had impulsively done, I started to feel guilty about. I started to feel like really emotional. Like I wasn't really thinking clearly, and I was like doubting myself. I was just like, am I fantasizing? Is this realistic? I just couldn't tell, you know? I felt that switch. It was intense. Shit hit the fan emotionally, because Pisces is a very like fluid, emotional sign. It's very connected to spirituality and a higher purpose, and just also trauma, you know? A lot of trauma started coming up. So in a nutshell, things just felt so messy, okay? It was so messy. But now Venus is direct. It's no longer in retrograde. And I feel such a relief. I feel like my life is just back on track. And here's the thing. I didn't take Mercury in retrograde or Venus in retrograde well, okay? I was like, I'm going to just like see what happens and see what the universe says and see how things go. You know, it can't be that bad. But the thing is, it was. And here's the thing. We have free will, right? We have the ability to say no. I didn't have to go on Bumble BFF and try to make connections. Did I want to? Yes. I didn't have to spend all that money, okay? That was my responsibility, but I didn't listen to that, okay? I didn't have to doubt all of these decisions that I made. I didn't have to wallow or worry about them or feel bad about them, but I did. That was a choice. And I didn't have to go to these appointments that I made. I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to like actively worry about things all the time, you know? And I just felt like I was making all these choices, but the truth is I did have some power over those choices. Did the universe send me kind of these urges or these things into my life? Yes, but I chose the path that I chose. We are not powerless to the whims of astrology. There are certain things that of course are going to be difficult. Like for example, if your ex shows up, you know, or calls you, then, and my ex did show up too, I forgot that. Then you have the decision that you can make to say, I don't want to talk to you anymore, you know, or I don't want to be around you. You know, there are a lot of things that will happen that are out of your control, and part of Venus in retrograde is like accepting this. What I don't regret is a lot of these decisions force me to reflect. So for example, by going out and making all these friends, or trying to, I was constantly getting stood up. There were constantly mixed messages, constant cancellations, and it kind of forced me to reflect on myself by going through all that. But then again, it was my choice, okay? So while I didn't choose to get canceled on, okay, I still can choose what to gain from that and what information to learn from that, okay? So that is what I wanted to get at, because all this shit happens. Sometimes I know you want to go hang out with these people now. How about we add a little obstacle course for you to get there? And you can choose to go through it and learn the hard way, or you can not. What I will also say is that now Mercury in retrograde and Venus in retrograde are over. And I no longer feel the way I did. I'm okay now, you know? That's what I'm trying to say is like, even with all that happening, I still am okay. I turned out okay. You know, I am not doomed because I made those decisions. It really allowed me to see what I was capable of. And yes, sometimes Venus in retrograde can be a moment where you realize that that relationship you were in for 10 years is no longer working for you, and you break up with them. And you realize it was the best choice you could make afterwards. So if there's anything I want you to take away from this is just like, remember that whenever you hear like, oh no, Mercury's in retrograde and I'm a Virgo, so it will impact me. It's like, don't feel like that. Remember, things might be tricky. you know, depending on where you're at. Maybe people will contact you, maybe contracts will go awry or whatever, but you will be okay afterwards, you know, and you will have gained something from it. And I think that it's really what you make of it. And yeah, that's basically what I wanted to share today. And also, I just kind of wanted to get all that off my chest because I don't know who to tell, to be honest. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Did you have an interesting Venus in retrograde? I know it was a lot for some people, and I know this video might not do as well, but I just really think that it's important for us to really talk about these things because there's so many videos out there about like what Venus in retrograde is and how it could influence you, but what does it actually look like in your life? How does it actually impact you? Yeah. So subscribe to my channel, and if you would like to book a reading with me, you're welcome to on zoethepsychic.com. And I can't wait to see you next time. Bye-bye. Mwah. Mwah. Mwah.